There's this whole thing in terms of who gets included, and one of the ways we look at inclusion is who leads things, right? Who do we choose to focus in on and see every day? Who do we give major roles and major episodes and storylines to? And I think that that's really important of how people see themselves and how they imagine and how things are applied. I'm going to go back to Next Gen, even though I know you're going to go there.
This is great. I'm loving this.
I know, it's a self-interview, right?
This is it, yes.
But the reason why I have to go to Next Gen is because it's the 30th anniversary of Next Gen.
This year, October.
And I'm not going to even imagine this, but I was in the astronaut program. My class was the first class after the Challenger accident. And we all got together, the 15 of us got together over someone's home to watch the premiere of Next Gen. Yep. So like 15 new astronaut candidates get together to watch the premiere of Next Gen. It was really pretty fascinating.
Since we're jumping around, I just want to point out, because it has now been established as canon, that let's not forget that Lieutenant Uhura did command the Enterprise in the animated series. That was 1973, the Lorelei signal. And I had to correct Neil deGrasse Tyson, because he was saying, oh, Uhura never got to command the Enterprise. I'm like, excuse me, yes you did. So I'm like, you got Star Talk, I got Star Trek. But
it's the animated series.
It is the animated series. Now, some of those episodes would have made fine live-action episodes.
I've only recently seen a couple of the animated series, and they were very interesting.
Pretty good. It won an Emmy. It won a Best Children's Program. But when did you get the epiphany that you wanted to join the astronaut program? Like, when did you decide that's what I want to do?
So, as I said, in the 1960s, I assumed I would go into space.
Okay, you assumed.
I assumed I'd go into space. And at that time, we had a trajectory that it seemed like we would be on Mars by the time I got old enough to be, working there. And it would just be, I would be working in space. I didn't think I was gonna have to be a crew member. I would just be a scientist going there to work. At some point in time, I recognized we were going kind of slow.
Yeah.
And, that it would be better to apply for the astronaut program than to stand in a cornfield in Iowa with tin foil on my head waiting for somebody to come pick me up. So I applied, and so I actually decided I would apply sometime when I was in my senior year in high school, and actually that's when Nichelle Nichols was going, not senior in high school, senior in college, that's when Nichelle Nichols was going and helping to recruit astronauts, because women and minorities, because nobody believed NASA was serious. But I wasn't going to have the skill set coming out graduating as a senior. I thought it was pretty cool, but I knew better. I was a chemical engineering major, and I also majored in African studies and did a lot of other things, but it would take me a while. So it wasn't until quite a few years later that I applied to the astronaut program.
And you established a really strong friendship over the years with Nichelle.
Yes, I did.
What was the first conversation that you ever had with her? Like, were you starstruck? Because, oh my God, you're on the Enterprise. I mean, Star Trek has touched my life so much.
Well, I actually was working at Kennedy Space Center as one of the astronauts who acted as liaison between Kennedy and the astronaut corps, and there was something called the Terminal Countdown Demonstration Test, which TCDT, which is where you actually test out all the systems. It's like a dress rehearsal for the launch. And it was going to be the first launch after the Challenger accident, and I was there all week to be a part of it. That was my job. And I heard that there was a Star Trek convention in Orlando, and I heard Nichelle on the radio. It's a true story. So I got one other person to go with me. I said, I'm going to go and meet Nichelle, because another person at NASA had always told me, you must meet Nichelle Nichols. So I go to the Star Trek convention in Orlando, regular clothes, and I go up to a guy and I said, I'm an astronaut, and I want to meet Nichelle. And I'm really expecting him to look at me and say, like, really? Really? But he actually said, okay, with this strange look on his face. And he took me back to say hello, and Nichelle comes out of her room, because I said I'm Mae Jemison, and she said, you have Mae Jemison just waiting outside? Oh. And so we developed a really good friendship from then on, which is the reason why I did All Hailing Frequencies Are Open, because she wasn't able to make it to my launch.
Oh, wow.
So that was the reason why, and it was a very good friendship. It's a very good friendship. She's one of my favorite people, such resilience, such talent, right? And I think that her presence very much anchored things on the bridge. You always missed her when the episode had the bridge scenes and she wasn't there. You're sort of like, well, something's missing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. There were definitely episodes like Doomsday Machine. She wasn't in that episode. She should have been in that episode for sure. But it was a massive big deal for her to be there. And there were some episodes in the first season that she had a significant presence, more than just saying hailing frequencies open. And she's told the story many times where she didn't feel like her role was significant enough and she thought about leaving, and she got sort of inspired to stay because of a conversation with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which is an amazing person to say, no, you gotta stay.
Well, images are important. Images are very important. They're not role models. I always take, this whole idea that public figures are role models is the wrong use of the term role models. I know I need to just give it up, but here's what I'm going to say. Images are about the possible. They're how we think of things. They help influence us about who gets to be involved, whether or not that person looks like us or they don't. They help influence us. Role models are the people you're around all the time. That's who you learn your behavior from, right? So that's going to be your parents and teachers, people that you get to see how they behave. So my parents, of course, parents are always great role models, but role models can be positive or negative. That's what we always understand. And even though neither one of my parents were quote unquote scientists from that discipline perspective, they were some of the best scientists I ever met, because they always told you to look and think about what you're doing. And they tell you to investigate things. And so that's really important, but the imagery is really important. Who do we think is involved? Who do we think can do things? It makes a really big difference.
Absolutely it does. And your role models can be your role models can be real life figures, people in your life, your family, mentors that you work with, classmates, whatever, professors. They can be people that you see on TV, like the people that we saw on these Star Trek shows. Those were my mentors. Those were the people who inspired me. And
they can be cats. I'm not laughing. I'm absolutely serious. No, I have to say that because I have to do my homage to my cats, right? The reason why is because cats, you learn behavior. Role models are who you learn behavior from, right? So sometimes television series, because we have such an intimate, ongoing relationship with people and you can see their evolution, they can be role models. But I think what's really important is when you see how people deal with success and failure, how they stay up all night, how they do things. So cats, because they're gorgeous, first of all, right? They are very confident in themselves no matter what they look like, right? They don't, yeah. Their confidence is such that I don't have to be at your beck and call, and I'm still important. And if they make a mistake, they say, I jumped over there, I missed, but I did that really beautifully, didn't I? And now I'm going to walk away. But I say that because those are some of the things that it's important for us to understand and think about, that we're not always going to be perfect and number one, but we can be really very good and excellent at what we do.
Okay, what is it like to be at the top of a space shuttle on September 12th, 1992, almost 25 years, your 25th anniversary? That is amazing. What does it feel like during a launch?
Well, I mean, for me, it was, the feeling is not so much about being inside, because you do so many simulator runs that, everything looks the same. The simulators were incredibly high fidelity, right? So you've done so many. I spend so much time on shuttles being prepared for launch as my role as a working at Kennedy Space Center. What is remarkable to me is standing outside waiting to be loaded in. Because of my position in the shuttle, I was the last person to be loaded in, to be put into my seat. So I had this opportunity to stand outside on the gantry and look out over what's basically a nature preserve. Yeah. And this incredible juxtaposition with this incredibly advanced, sophisticated technology sitting in a nature preserve in Florida. And it's sort of this whole thing that connects us as humans, right? We started one place, life connects us as we want to go further, life expands. It's not just humans that explore, life explores and expands. And so that was the connection to me. That's what I felt more than sitting on the stack itself. I mean, be clear, sitting on the stack itself was important. And, you know, you're sort of sitting there waiting to see what's gonna happen. You know that it could be canceled at any time for a number of different reasons, so you're sitting there. And then when the solid rocket boosters light, you know you're going. And it was really very exciting because I told you about being a little girl in Chicago and assuming I'd go into space. So I actually thought about her, right? What would she be thinking? She'd have this big grin on her face, right? So that was, for me, was the whole issue. And it was exhilarating. The views are incredible. I was the first time they flew something called a science mission specialist. I always say it was like being Mr. Spock, right?
That is very cool. Let's just take that in for a second. That is very cool.
Because I was responsible for this, being the representative for the scientists on the ground, both when we were preparing for a mission and as we were up there to make sure we got as much science done as possible. So it was very, very neat to be there, to be able to look out the window and see the Nile Delta go past. Right. We flew over the Nile Delta. It looked like it was going past us. So it was an incredible sensation. For me, it was very much a connection with this entire universe. How
about the re-entry back into the atmosphere? I mean, you know, you watch movies like Apollo 13 or The Right Stuff where the re-entry is so volatile and the turbulence. Was it like that on the Endeavour?
Well, the shuttle has a very gentle profile. And what I mean by that is the most you get most acceleration you get when you go up is 3G, and the most you get coming back down is 2G. And that's the reason it could carry up something like the Hubble Space Telescope. That's the reason it could bring back protein crystals, is because it has such a gentle landing profile. The only thing you notice really when you're coming in, but let's just say, both liftoff and landing, launch and landing, are the most dangerous phases of the flight because you have these incredible exchanges of energy. And that's when things go wrong, when you have so much energy having to be there, you know, being put into the system or having to be bled out of the system, and that's where the two accidents can happen. Yeah, right. So coming in, you're aware of this, launching, you're aware of that, but it's just this gentle, all of us, you've been floating the whole time, and everything's really wonderful, and you gradually sort of feel the weight coming back on you. So whereas you were light as a feather before, all of a sudden you're not light as a feather anymore. So it's more that than anything else, and a little bit of sadness that you're coming home.
All right, so I just want to be honest. We won't tell anyone. Which was cooler? Which was cooler for you? Looking in the mirror and seeing yourself in a spacesuit, or looking in the mirror and seeing yourself in a Starfleet uniform?
Spacesuit.
Well, you're honest, man.
Let's be real about this. But let me tell you, so I'm taken because I don't know how much time we have left, but I want to talk about what I'm doing now.
Talk about what you're doing now.
So besides it's the 25th anniversary of my space flight, which is really, for me, hard to believe, it's not about what I did back then, it's about what you do with your place at the table. Once you have an opportunity to be in the public light, what do you do with it? So for me, being on Star Trek was one of those things saying we're going to come full circle, and how we tell stories of a hopeful future makes a really big difference to what we do in the world. Right now, I lead a project called 100-Year Starship, and I'm going to try to show some slides about 100-Year Starship. This is, I lead a program, an initiative that was seed funded by DARPA to ensure that we have the capabilities for human interstellar flight within 100 years. The idea behind this is not about making sure you know, a launch date, but it's the capabilities, because those capabilities are so important. But let me tell you what it takes to get to another star. So I don't have a clicker, so I'm going to have to say, if we look at, if you can forward, and I'm going to do my hand like that every time if you can see me. So if you have Los Angeles and New York City, right? And then we say that Los Angeles is Earth and New York City is Alpha Centauri, our closest neighboring star. Alpha Centauri is 25 trillion miles away. It's 4.2 light years away. That's the distance light travels in 4.2 years. Just to be clear, light travels from the sun to the Earth in 8 minutes, and that's 93 million miles. I'm telling you this for a reason. So if you think about Earth and Voyager's there, you can just show the little Voyager sign. I'm waving my hand. So Voyager has been traveling, and you could just go in and forward it. Voyager's been traveling at an average of over 35,000 miles per hour since 1977. And if you would look at that equivalent, it would have only traveled 1 mile. It would take Voyager 60 to 70,000 years to get to Alpha Centauri. So it means that we have to do something very different. So going to another star is not easy. And so if you go to the next slide, the reason why we do this is because there are these incredible hurdles that we have to reevaluate what we think we know. We can't get to another star doing space like we do it right now. We have to have radical leaps both in human systems. We can't do this stop-start that we do in space exploration right now. We have to commit to a long term. What are the things that we have to do? So if you go to the next slide, some of the hurdles are really about, you know, overcoming the time. I told you it would take, you can advance once more. I told you that it would take 60,000 years if we were going 35,000 miles per hour. 35,000 miles per hour sounds really fast, but it's not fast enough. If you go 10% the speed of light, it would still take you close to 100 years. If you go, 20% the speed of light, it's still going to take a long time to go there. So all of a sudden you have to have sustainability. You have to do energy very differently. You have to understand human behavior, right? One of the big things is we could figure out the whole bit about how do we do the technology, but you get 10 years out, you wake me up from cryo sleep, and I say, I'm not doing what you told me to do. You were in charge when we left. All of these systems come into play. That's the reason why DARPA would fund it. DARPA is a Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which is that's where the internet came out of, exoskeletons, global positioning, satellite systems. It's really about pushing things. And if you go to the next slide, what we really talk about the fact is it's the challenge of interstellar travel that mirrors the challenges that we face on Earth today, which are about energy, which are about sustainability, which are about human behavior. And I want to talk about this because that's the reason I want to hear, because the energy that you bring to Star Trek and the future that it envisions is a future that we're looking at. If you go to the next slide, what 100-Year Starship is about, it's about an inclusive, audacious journey to transform life here on Earth and beyond. Because for the next, foreseeable generations, we will all be on this planet. So we have to figure out how to live here. And so what I want to invite you to, if you go to the next slide, I think it's there. Let's see what's there. If they go, move.
There we go.
It's really about pursuing an extraordinary tomorrow to create a better world today. It's how do we imply these things? The Star Trek is the extraordinary world, right? It's a world where people have figured out issues around sustainability, around respecting other people's cultures and ideas. It's a world where we've really paid attention to even how we interact with each other, right? That's what we want to pursue, is that extraordinary world. But if we take that energy and we say, how do we combine it every step of the way today? That's what's important. And the last thing I want to do, if you change slides, is to invite you to what we're calling Nexus. 100-Year Starship has been doing all along public symposium. And we'd always say, it's about everybody. We have a science fiction stories night, right? LeVar Burton is on our advisory board, right? LeVar directed.
He directed you Second Chances, yeah.
Right? We always talk about this, but people didn't see it that way. So we've changed the name to Nexus because this is a confluence of events. We want to make sure it's down to earth. And if you go to the next slide, it's going to be held in Santa Monica. I'm inviting you to come because my task in all of this, you notice that first word in our proposal was inclusive? I seriously mean it. That's what, yes, you ask about Star Trek influence, that's very much of an influence, that we have to include people across not just ethnicity, gender, and geography, but also across disciplines. How do we have a better, hopeful future? And I just want to make sure, we also have a t-shirt that says, space isn't just for rocket scientists and billionaires, right? It's the energy that comes from you that makes a difference. And I'm sorry I hijacked this, Scott, but I wanted to talk about this because, you know, this world that was created with Star Trek is incredible. And it makes you hopeful, it makes you think things can be better.
It absolutely
It
is.
shows us our better selves. But how do we get there? We're not going to get there from here just, you know, doing these small incremental approaches. We're going to have to do it by thinking much bigger, by having more people involved in determining where the future goes. And if I have any one thing that I can contribute, it's being able to invite other people to join in, and I will defend your place to be involved every time.
Mae, before we let you go, we do have a few fans who would like to ask some questions.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So let's have the
Almost
first
feel
one.
like I have to stand up for this.
Is it on? Don't say uh-oh. Doctor, we want to welcome you here, Doctor. So honored to have you here. And I'm so happy and appreciative. And I also want to thank somebody, Adam, for bringing you here and bringing with Nichelle. Adam is my superhero. He has moved galaxies. I wrote him a letter about getting people together like this, and he already had it in motion. And so having you here and having Nichelle here, I thank Adam Malin. I want everybody to say congratulations to Adam. Adam's so wonderful and creation for doing this for us today. You have opened up this convention to the heavens. Thank you for your nexus, everything. The next generation is you, of course, everything. And the legacy that you're leaving. And on that note, the legacy I want you to tell me about is how you feel that our Nichelle Nichols have left not only to the world, but to the galaxies to come, and how she has done in your eyes, in your heart, in your spirit for Nichelle Nichols. So you have a personal time with her. And so you talk about legacies and things you're going to leave.
So what I find with happens with Nichelle, as I said, what she brought was this incredible dignity to the screen. She was the first time that you had a woman who had a technical role that was recurring in a series, which was really important. So we could actually see that connection. I think one of the other things that's critical is that particular piece where she stepped up to the plate. She used her place at the table to help NASA bring in the first women astronauts, the first astronauts of color at the shuttle program, because people actually, here's the power of images on television or people on television. So we all felt very comfortable with Nichelle and Lieutenant Uhura and that whole persona. So whereas folks might not have believed NASA really was sincerely looking for women and people of color because they had turned them down before. There are a lot of stories about that, they had turned them down before. They believed Nichelle, so they would come to see Nichelle. But what she did with her place at the table was not only say, I'm gonna bring in these qualified applicants, but also said, I will make sure I use my place at the table to let everybody know you couldn't figure out how to choose one of them if you don't. So for me, it's really this legacy about using your place at the table, about inclusion, about dignity, and using all your talents to move the world forward.
Thank you. God
Thank
bless
you
you.
for the question. Next question, sir. Oh, here you go. Yes.
Hi, it's such an honor to have you here. It's a two-part question. The first one's a quick one. You said you always knew that you were going to go into space. Did you set up your career to give you the best chances possible to get into the astronaut program, or did you just kind of follow your passions and you qualified that way? And
Was it the second one?
well, the second one's related to just being a black woman in engineering, but
Give me both of them.
Okay, so the first one is, hey, did you do your career? And the second one is that I'm a fellow Stanford graduate. I majored in engineering, and it's really interesting because people are always like, oh, how did you get into math and science, whatever. But I read your bio, and I, like you, I was always interested. I never thought it was unusual or weird to be interested in math and science and engineering, and it wasn't until I got into college that I was the only black female in my computer science class of 300 people. I was like, wow, okay, this is a little bit unusual, but I was never told it was, unusual or different. So I just went with my natural passion. So how do we encourage women, black women?
So I can do both of those at the same time.
Okay, great.
Okay, and the reason why I wanted to do both of them at the same time is because I just always like science. I think kids come out of the chute, girls, boys, whoever, they come out of the chute excited about the world around them, which is science. And that's the wonderment, the learning about things. We learn what we're not supposed to do based on people's expectations. Now, I always tell people that I chose my parents well, because they encouraged us to look and do all kinds of things. My sister, I'm the youngest of 3 children. My sister is a child and adolescent psychiatrist. My brother majored in philosophy. He sells real estate. And I came out in engineering. But the whole idea was really that you have an opportunity to stretch yourselves. And it's really usually around parents and others that you get this kind of who you can be and what you can do. And I never got that from my parents. In terms of what happens to girls and to people of color in college, here's the thing. Do you know that girls do as well as or better than boys all the way through high school in math and science? Just think about, it's not even a clap, it's the truth, right? So you can clap for the truth, because I know we have problems with that these days, but what happens is...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Nichelle Nichols.
Look at this, how can I tell you, right?
Have a seat, please.
I'm right here.
How are you? Here, you know what? I'm just going to give you my mic.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Okay. Hello. I've been telling stories out of school.
Are you telling true ones?
I think so. I think so. I was just going to finish up about science and engineering.
All right.
Which is, we all like it, and the issue is really whether or not we support it. In college, many professors don't see women as their colleagues, and they don't treat them as such. And so they're okay with them falling out in higher numbers, even though they say that they believe that the female students come in better prepared to graduate with a STEM degree. They're okay with it. And so it's really, we found different things. Dartmouth graduated more women than men in engineering for the past 2 years. There's a way we can change this. Harvey Mudd College, triple the number of women graduated in computer sciences in 5 years. And so there are things we can do, and most of them have to do with what? Our perception, our behavior. And so, I mean, I think that's where the whole public figure image comes in. So when you see Nichelle, when you saw Lieutenant Uhura, repairing the communication system, it's like little girls say, yeah, cool, I've got this, right? Because you can do this, you see it.
Yeah. I think it's, I don't know what your conversation was before I came in, but it was very interesting for me to play the role. Thank you. To play the role, and at first I was going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, and then suddenly I knew they were in my area. And I began to bring things to the subject, and it was good. It was good, and it was nice working with.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I always look at is how do we let people know they can do it. I always say sometimes people say, well, should I be in the room? I can just tell you now, if you need anybody's permission, I've given you permission to be in the room. You gave me and others permission to be in the room, right?
Yes, yeah. It was very important, even more important to me maybe than those coming into the room, because I love doing what I'm doing, and I love seeing people who don't know what it's about or what we're talking about, picking up on it and going, aha, I have an uncle who does that, or I have an aunt who, or my mom was there. And it's very exciting for me, yeah. But people in general always are. There are a lot of people here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, do we know how to kick off STLV in a big way or what? Please give it up for Mae Jemison and Nichelle Nichols. All rise, ladies and gentlemen.
Walking down the street, pretty woman, you kinda like to be a pretty woman. I don't believe you, you know the truth.